What's going on, everybody? It's Tim here for episode 2 of Tim Talks, and today I'm joined by the great one, aka Ed. We're going to do some NL East talk mostly today, so welcome, Ed.
Oh, hey. Hey, I got a friend here too.
Love to see it, dude.
We're doing
Um,
it at least. That's cool.
yeah, I wanted to talk about the Marlins first just because the whole Gene Segura thing. I thought it was kind of interesting how they're going to have him play third. I know that his arm has been a bit of an issue, so he's mostly stuck at second, so it's going to be interesting to see how he can play third.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more about his range for there. I guess they're not too concerned about his arm if they're going to be putting him at third. I saw when he first got signed, they were saying shortstop, and I was like, that he hasn't done that for years. But he's played some third somewhat recently, so I can kind of see that being a fit. Of course, they say that right now. When you look at the amount of infielders they have on the Marlins, I can almost guarantee you somebody's getting traded. But whether that's Jazz Chisholm, whether that's Miguel Rojas, whether that's oh god, why am I forgetting it? Joey Wendell. We'll see. But they've got a lot of infielders right now, yet somehow not a lot of hitting.
Like another thing
Okay,
with
I'm
the
letting you go.
another thing with the Marlins is like the whole there's been like trade talks for months now with their pitching. As you were just talking about, there's going to be trade talks about middle infield, so maybe a team could piece together a trade to get, may say, a Joey Wendell and a Pablo Lopez.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why the Marlins would be rushing exactly to trade Lopez unless they're getting something back that's really, really good. But yeah, I could see him. I don't think they'll trade Alcantara just because that's such a reasonable deal. Lazaro had a good year last year. Maybe they sell high on him if they don't think it was for real. I think they have a couple. Who else is in the Marlins rotation this year?
They have Richards, who was pretty good 2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. Is that Trevor Richards, or am I
Yes,
thinking of
yeah,
there are a bunch of Richards in the
yeah,
case?
it's
I think there's a
Trevor
Tyler
Richards.
Richards. There's Garrett Richards, who not very good.
I think Max Mayer should be back at some point. I'm not entirely sure on that though.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's Mayer as far as depth goes too. So yeah, no, it's a nice little rotation they have there. But they still need the bats to get to support that.
And then another team in the AL or NL East, sorry, that's pretty far away is the Nationals, but I think they could be quite exciting this year with their young players that they have, especially CJ Abrams getting a full year of playing time.
Oh, I don't know. I think they're kind of screwed personally. I think it'll be fun to watch their development and all that, but I mean, you're looking at what might be the toughest team, the toughest division in the league, and then you even have a team like the Marlins, who isn't one of the better teams, and they have the rotation we just talked about. The Nationals are a little bit away from competing. I agree. Abrams is fun though. It'll be interesting seeing Luis Garcia get a full season. I think he's going to be at second base this year. Yeah, I guess Keibert Ruiz. Who do they? I mean, is Strasburg going to be healthy? I feel kind of
That's a
bad for the fans here that's the guy that they kept from that 2019 team.
yeah, I get that. And then Joey Meneses, it'll be fun to watch him for a full year.
Oh man, have I told you my Joey Meneses story?
No, you haven't.
So a couple of years ago, he was with the Worcester Red Sox too in 2021, their first season, and he had been like the International League MVP a couple of years prior to that. Went to Japan. I think he was playing for the Oryx Buffaloes, and he got suspended there for performance enhancing drugs, so had to come back to the U.S. And my favorite thing about him was that he used the intro music to Dragon Ball Z for his walk-up music. And they even had in like his caption, like for him, that he was like a big Dragon Ball Z fan, and that's why he went to Japan. Which I don't necessarily believe that, but it's fun to say.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I'm not a really big anime person, but I could see why that would be a lot of fun. And
Yeah.
then they also have Mackenzie Gore now, which could be interesting for them if he can pan out. Didn't really look great in San Diego.
He was good, I think, when they first at the beginning of the season. He looked like the Mackenzie Gore that we were promised. But yeah, I'll agree that he definitely had his struggles. But sometimes the change of scenery helps. Sometimes being with a team that isn't really in contention can help.
Take a little bit of stress off his shoulders for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
transitioning now to the team I think is going to win the NL East, the Atlanta Braves. Alex Anthopoulos pulls off another crazy deal with Sean Murphy. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of think that the Murphy hype has gotten a little blown out of proportion. I think he's a good player, but if you were expecting him to get like 150 million or something, that wasn't going to happen. He's good. He's not great.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be good with the Braves. I think they have a lot of catching depth with they still have Darnell there. Yeah, like their Braves are good. I'm glad. I'm kind of pleasantly surprised you put them as your team that you think is going to win the division there because they've got Acuna free from his ACL injury for a full year now. That was bothering him last year, and he still put together a good year. Only 25 years old somehow. They've got those young guys. Harris is going to be for a full year. They've still got Max Fried at the top of the rotation. They'll have another year of Spencer Strider. They're a really good team. Who's going to be their closer with Kenley Jansen moving on?
Raisel Iglesias would be my guess. I mean, they
Yeah,
did.
that would make sense.
He is kind of on a big kind of contract for a reliever, so they kind of got to put him there.
Yeah, that would make sense. And he's kind of similar to Jansen in some ways, just because he's like an older guy with some success in the role. So that makes sense.
And then a guy on the Braves that I think is going to surprise a lot of people is the shortstop Grissom that they ultimately moved on from Dansby.
Yeah, no, he's I hope he can handle the position defensively. That's going to be a very fun combination to watch with him and Albies, and then obviously you have Austin Riley at third base and Matt Olson at first base. I mean, it's a very fun, very stacked team.
And I'm sure having Ron Washington as the fielding coach will help him out quite a bit. He's done a pretty good job for them for the past few years.
I mean, Washington gets the most out of his guys defensively when he's coaching. I would agree with that.
On to the Phillies or Mets next. I'll let you pick.
Oh, let's just go Mets. Let's just get it over with.
Uncle Stevie, me and Brad kind of hit on this last episode that this guy is just insane. He doesn't care. He'll spend anything to get what he wants. Like, it's the dream if you're a fan to have a lifelong fan who is rich enough to do what he's doing, but it's just unrealistic for pretty much any team.
I don't think that buying a World Series team usually works. I think that you kind of need a combination and of like homegrown talent and like those mercenaries to fill in the gaps. But I'm not even sure the Mets are going to finish second in their division. I think that the Phillies could beat them potentially as well. Yeah. I mean, like, look at their rotation. Like, how many 40-year-olds do you want in your rotation? First of all,
That's true.
like, it's not bad, but some of the moves that they made, like, do you really feel great about Jose Quintana coming out there?
No.
Do you feel like what the hell's going on with Carlos Correa right now? Also, like, is he going to be your third baseman? Is he going to be on your team? It's just like I don't know. Like I heard somebody say the expression that it's too many. Actually, there's more. I don't know if I want to go with the expression that they actually use because I don't really want to get canceled. But the gist of it was too many leaders, not enough players. And that I think that there's some truth to that. That if you have too many guys that are used to being the leader, it can be difficult to have them play around each other. If that makes sense, it's a team sport. It's not basketball where you can just put five. Not that basketball isn't a team sport, but basketball is much more like if you have one really good guy or two or three really good guys, you can build your entire team around that. Baseball, you need a little more than that.
I could agree with that, especially because like Verlander and Scherzer, I mean, they have coexisted before, but they've both been that guy for their respective teams for a little bit too. So I bet they could coexist together again. It's just going to be difficult, especially on the offensive side. There's Lindor, possibly Correa, Pete Alonso. Like they have an offense, but a lot of guys who expect to be that guy.
Yeah, I'm not saying they're not going to finish like with a wild card spot. I just think it's a lot of money to spend to lose in the NLDS.
Yeah, I could get behind that, especially because we don't know what to like. I hope Kodai Senga is good, but you really don't know what to expect yet. He hasn't seen an MLB pitch or hitter yet.
I mean, I don't think they're expecting a ton from Senga. Like, what they spend like $75 million on him.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean that's pocket change for what they're throwing at some of these other guys, especially if the Correa deal goes through. Sometimes teams click and sometimes they don't, and I just don't really see them as being a team that clicks. I can't tell. It's more of a gut feeling thing. I think a lot of things went right for them last year, and it still didn't really work out that well. I don't know if is Diaz going to be able to do what he did out of the pen last year? Is Ottavino going to be able to do it again? Those guys, I don't know, relievers are so random and they just threw an awful lot of money at bringing those guys back.
Yeah, they definitely gave Diaz a huge deal, and like you were saying, relievers being so volatile, you're not really sure what to expect on a year-to-year basis.
I'll tell you this though, I think that I have just a tendency to be a contrarian. So when somebody says that a team is going to do really well, and it's like, oh, this is they've changed the game for the better, and now teams are going to have to throw money. I kind of want to see it blow up in their face, just because I don't like I don't enjoy when things get overhyped like that. That's why I think I prefer teams like the Braves, who are doing team building in a way that I think is more fun as a fan when you just bringing in your own guys and paying them rather than just bringing in every mercenary you can think of.
Yeah, and then onto that, let's talk a little bit about the Phillies. I think that I could agree with you. I think they're going to come in second in that division, but I still think it's Atlanta's division. But adding Trey Turner certainly helps. I mean, they lost Gene Segura, but they should still be fine.
Yeah, I mean, they lost Segura by choice. That was the other thing. Like they
Yeah.
declined his option. They could have brought him back if they wanted to. They didn't. And they've made some other moves too. I mean, I think Taiwan Walker is a good fit for them. He kind of shores up the rotation a little bit. Matt Strahm, nice little lefty piece in the bullpen. It's a very classic Dave Dombrowski team, which is that he gets the guys that he wants and he's willing to pay for them. And it's rather than we need these numbers at these stats, it's he'll pick out players that he likes and he'll put them in positions. And I think that there's something to be said for that. And he's loyal. He's very loyal to his players. I mean, they just brought in Craig Kimbrell, though, presumably be their closer for like $10 million after he lost the job with the Dodgers. So, that's the guy that he brought in to close for the Red Sox for that during his tenure there. So he's got his guys, he sticks to them, and we'll see how they work. But he's obviously done something with them for last year. I mean, I don't know if all their guys are going to necessarily repeat. I'm not the biggest Kyle Schwarber fan. I think he's a great personality. Do I think that he's a 46 home run guy every year? Probably not. Do I think he strikes out a little bit too much? Absolutely. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. Who do they have at second base this year?
Pretty sure it's going to be Bryson Stott.
That's interesting. I mean, he was like their up and coming shortstop, and I guess that didn't work out. And they've got Bohm at third again, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's an interesting team. And I mean, Romuto at catcher, it's going to be tough to beat that. They've got a good top of the rotation there. Like Aaron Nola is as good as you're going to see, I think. Ranger Suarez, good underrated pitcher. Taiwan Walker. Yeah, no, they're and obviously Wheeler, Zach Wheeler at the top of it there. I mean, that's a good. It's gonna be that's why I think the Nationals are kind of screwed. Like every rotation there is just absolutely killer, and then they've got like a 30 whatever year old Steven Strasburg. Like they're pretty fucked.
I don't think they're going to win much, but I think it'll be fun to watch the young guys.
I like watching the young guys. I mean, I work at in Worcester for like 30, 40 games a year, so I'm a little biased, but it's always cool seeing those guys play at the big league level.
And then obviously the Phillies have, in my opinion, hot take here, the best player in baseball, which that helps, but he'll be out for a little bit.
I was gonna say Harper's out for like half the season, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's Bryce Harper. If you didn't know, Tim thinks he's the best player in baseball. I mean, okay, so let's talk about this for a second, Tim.
Okay.
Harper's the best player in baseball. Who's the runner-up?
Shohei Ohtani.
Okay, and then who's number 3?
Mike Trout.
So where do like Acuna, Soto, a healthy Tatis, where do they fall in on this? Where does Mookie Betts fall in on this?
I'll give you my top 5.
Okay, let's hear it.
So my top 5 would be Harper, Ohtani, Trout, Betts, Judge.
I mean, that's fair. I just don't. I think Harper's a top 10. I don't know if he's number one just because of like I don't know if you can say anybody missing the first half of the season is number one.
That's fair. I followed him all the way from high school to the minors. It's hard for me to put anyone above him. It's kind of a bias thing, but that's just
Eh.
how it is.
What if he had ended up being a catcher like they drafted him? That would have been cool.
Yeah, would have been real cool. I thought there was a chance that when he was a free agent, he would have looked to catch or got an opportunity at least, but it was kind of too late by that point.
Not only too late, catcher. He's not going to get as much money as a catcher. Those guys get, like
Yeah.
they're a different breed if you're a catcher. Somebody like Yadier Molina that can stay on the field as much as he did. Somebody like AJ Pierzynski who got like over 2,000 hits. It just doesn't generally happen at that position. Like it's murder on your knees. He's more valuable in the outfield. Good fielder too.
I mean, since we entertained my top five, what would be Ed Hand's top five?
Hogdale.
No, you can't.
Hogdale. Ryan Brady.
Okay, that's fair.
No, who are my top five? Golly. I think number one, I'd probably have to go Ohtani just because you're objectively getting the most value out of him. You're getting either an ace pitcher or an MVP caliber hitter who steals bases for you. Number two, it's hard for me to say anybody other than Mookie Betts there, just because of what he brings defensively on top of that offense. Maybe Acuna number three. I think he has the highest ceiling of anybody. God, it would have been so much easier to say Juan Soto in this mix before last year, but he did not really hit up to his standards. Aaron Judge, I guess. I think he's a big old injury risk, but you can't deny what he did last year. Number five, sorry. This is the thing. Like I'm saying this now, and like someone's going to remind me, "Oh, what about this guy?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, he exists," and I just wasn't thinking about him. I don't know. Maybe Trey Turner, like just as far as like a pure five-tool guy.
Did you forget about Mike Trout, or is he outside your top five?
I mean, it's the same injury thing,
Okay.
Like the thing that's crazy about Trout is that he'll play like he missed time last year, and it doesn't fucking matter. Like
Yeah,
he'll play like 120 games and still put up like a 7.5 WAR. It's ridiculous. But you at his age and with that spinal injury, I put so much added value onto like how guys just managed to stay on the field. Like if you're going to a Celtics 2008, I thought the best player on the team was Paul Pierce just because he never got hurt. I think most people would say it was Kevin Garnett, but I think that there's something to be said for guys coming out there year in, year out. I probably would overvalue Cal Ripken Jr. as well.
Ed Hand, known on the field lover.
It's true. I love it on the field.
Do you have any last remarks before we end it?
How are you liking hosting your own show? I feel like I wanted to call this Tim's very special episode, but it's like, like you have your own show now. How's that going?
Oh, I love it. It's a lot of fun. I mean, this is only my second episode, but I'm enjoying it a lot.
Do you feel any thoughts towards those who have suggested that it should have been Hogdale that got his own show?
I would agree.
Damn it! I'm trying to stir shit up here, and you're just being too pure for this world, Tim. You've earned this show by through your kindness.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Won me over.
Have a good night, Ed.
You too, Tim.
Oh, my bad, Ed. Happy New Year to you too. But thank you for tuning in to episode 2 as me and Ed sat down, talked some off season and top 5 players in baseball. Thank you for joining.